Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into some seriously fascinating source material today that is going to completely challenge and honestly rebuild how we understand self-assurance. We're unpacking this concept known as dark confidence, which is basically the psychology behind a truly fearless mind. Let's get right into it.
So I want to kick things off with a direct question for you. Really think about this for a second. What would you do today if you had absolutely zero fear of rejection, zero fear of failure, or judgment? Like, imagine there's this hidden, completely fearless version of yourself sitting there right now. A version that literally does not care if someone insults you, doesn't sweat it if a conversation gets a little awkward, and only listens to your own internal compass. Sounds pretty amazing, right? But to actually get there, we've got to uncover a pretty uncomfortable truth about the confidence you think you have right now.
And that brings us to Section 1, the confidence trap. Okay, so here's the unsettling truth. The confidence you're feeling right now, it might actually be entirely fake. The source material defines the mindset most of us are walking around with as broad confidence. And what that is a super fragile sense of self-assurance derived entirely from external circumstances and positive results. It doesn't actually come from within you. It's really just a side effect of temporary situations. You get good grades, you feel confident. You hit the gym, get a pump, you feel confident. Your post gets a bunch of likes, boom, confident. It feels completely normal, but here's the catch. A side effect is never permanent. The source actually gives us two perfect examples to show why this trap is so dangerous. Let's look at the topper. That student who's always first in the class. As long as they keep getting first place, everything's totally fine. But the very second they come in second, they get hit with massive anxiety, pressure, and self-doubt. Now, did their actual knowledge decrease? No. Just the result changed. But that one single failure completely shattered their entire sense of self. And it's the exact same thing for a content creator. A video goes viral, they feel on top of the world. But if the next video flops, their confidence vanishes in an instant. The takeaway here is that when your confidence is tied exclusively to results, you are completely at the mercy of things you literally cannot control. Which leads us to Section 2, redefining real confidence. So if this results-based confidence is just an illusion, how do we actually get out of the trap? Well, we do it by pivoting away from external validation and moving toward internal stability. This is the core realization from the source. Real confidence means your self-worth doesn't change when your results change. Think about it. If you fail an exam tomorrow, does your inherent value as a human being suddenly drop to zero? If you get rejected by someone you ask out, do all your good qualities just evaporate? Of course not. But most of our brains actually believe this lie, which is exactly why our confidence is constantly yo-yoing up and down. True confidence is built on the rock-solid foundation of your inherent value. You win? Great. You lose? Also fine. A result simply cannot dictate who you are.
Now let's look at Section 3, Rule 1, Equal Ground.
This is our first actionable rule of dark confidence, and it's all about how we mentally position ourselves relative to other people in our day-to-day lives. I want you to think about how your behavior shifts based on who happens to be in the room with you. When you're talking to a close friend, you're just normal, right? You're relaxed, you're authentic, you aren't overthinking your posture or meticulously planning every word you say. But the second you're standing in front of a VIP or a boss or someone you find highly attractive, you suddenly get all hesitant, nervous, and you start desperately seeking their approval. Why is that? I mean, your confidence didn't literally leak out of your body. What actually happened is that you placed them on a mental pedestal high above yourself.
The source breaks this dynamic down into what we're going to call the pedestal effect. See, when you put someone above you like that, you are actively surrendering total control of your emotions over to them. If they smile at you, your confidence spikes. If they go silent or kind of ignore you, your confidence totally tanks. If they disagree with a point you make, you instantly start doubting your own intelligence. You basically end up being like 5 different versions of yourself depending on who you happen to be talking to, constantly trying to prove your value instead of just expressing who you actually are.
So how do we fix this? Well, the source gives us a brilliant, highly actionable little conversation hack. The very next time you feel yourself getting nervous talking to someone, I want you to try this simple 3-step process. Step 1, ask them a question. Step 2, listen incredibly carefully to their answer. And Step 3, extract a brand new question directly from whatever they just said. It sounds super simple, almost too simple, right? But psychologically speaking, it is incredibly profound. What you're doing is forcibly shifting your entire focus away from yourself and placing it onto the other person. And when you do that, your own hesitation just naturally starts to dissolve.
And the real reason this hack works is this. You have to stop trying to feel confident. Just try to move the conversation forward. Look, Hesitation only exists when your brain is aggressively zoomed in on yourself. You know the drill. How do I look right now? What should I say next? Wait, what if I say the wrong thing? The absolute second you shift your focus outward to actively understanding that other person, the hesitation just melts away. You don't have to fake or force confidence. You literally just have to get out of your own head.
Moving on to Section 4, Rule 2, Radical Acceptance.
All right, we need to tackle the absolute biggest myth out there about people who possess this unbreakable dark confidence. People tend to think that truly confident individuals just simply do not feel rejection, judgment, or embarrassment, like they're basically robots. That is entirely false. Confident people are still humans. They absolutely still feel the sting of embarrassment, and yeah, rejection still hurts them. But as the source points out, they process that pain using a completely different mental framework than the rest of us.
The source uses a brilliant boxing metaphor to explain this framework. Imagine two boxers stepping into a ring. Boxer A expects to get through the entire fight without taking a single punch. Boxer B, on the other hand, accepts right from the bell that he is absolutely going to get hit, he might lose his balance a few times, and some of those rounds are going to be brutal. So what happens when they both inevitably get punched right in the face? Boxer A's confidence completely shatters because reality just broke his expectation. But Boxer B's confidence stays perfectly steady. Why? Because he already accepted the possibility of getting hit before he even stepped through the ropes. Anticipating and accepting failure actually immunizes your mindset against it.
And that brings us to the inevitable reality of life outside the boxing ring. Here it is. People will judge you. People will disagree with your opinions. People will misunderstand your intentions. And yeah, people will make fun of you. The real problem isn't that these things happen. The actual problem is our completely delusional expectation that we can somehow avoid all of this if we just perform perfectly. We waste so much energy trying to control how other people perceive us, which, by the way, is literally an impossible task, instead of just accepting that being judged is an unavoidable part of existing in the world.
So the really crucial takeaway here is this. True freedom comes when you stop trying to control what isn't yours to control. The very moment your brain finally accepts the reality that you are going to be judged and you are going to be misunderstood, this deep, deep psychological stability begins to form. You stop seeking that constant stream of external validation. Your focus naturally shifts from what are they going to think of me to what do I actually want to do? And that unwavering stability, the kind that's completely independent of the world's reaction, that is exactly what the source defines as dark confidence. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a really powerful closing thought, straight from the source. Mindset only changes when knowledge turns into behavior. It isn't enough to just absorb the information in this explainer and conceptually agree with it. You've got to step out of your own head and start actively observing these patterns in your real life. Catch yourself the next time you put someone on a pedestal. Notice when your confidence takes a nosedive just because of a bad result.
And I want to end on this final provocative question. Seriously, ask yourself, whose reaction are you going to stop seeking today? Is it a coworker? Is it a friend? Maybe a total stranger on the internet? It is time to take back control of your own value. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to guide you through our next deep dive.